Augustus writes in the Res Gestae, "On my return from Spain and Gaul, and the consulship of Tiberius Nero and Publius Quintilius, after successfully arranging affairs in those provinces, the Senate resolved that an altar of the Augustan peace should be consecrated next to the Campus Martius in honor of my return, and ordered that the magistrates and priests and Vestal virgins should perform an annual sacrifice there. By new laws passed on my proposal, I brought back into use many exemplary practices of our ancestors, which were disappearing in our time, and in many ways I myself transmitted exemplary practices to posterity for their imitation." According to Andrew Wallace Hadriel in Augustan Rome, the Ara Pacis Augusti was commissioned by the Roman Senate in 13 BCE upon the victorious return of Augustus and his general Agrippa from extended wars in Spain and Gaul. Instead of the traditional triumphal arch as was created to commemorate his victory over Antony and the Egyptians in 29 BCE, Augustus created an altar to peace. By combining Hellenistic and classical influences in its imagery, the Ara Pacis creates a unified message glorifying Augustus, the gods, and Rome. Wallace Hadriel claims this altar is a continuation of Augustus's transitioning image from great general to benevolent ruler, family man, and moral legislator. The Ara Pacis was completed and consecrated in 9 BCE. Its original position was along the Via Flaminia in the northeastern corner of the Campus Martius, according to Torelli in Topology and Structures of Roman Historical Reliefs. Paul Zonker shows a possible position of the Ara Pacis in the power of images in the age of Augustus. The Solarium Augusti, a large obelisk acting as a sundial, would cast its shadow towards the Ara Pacis on Augustus's birthday. Like many Roman monuments, it was lost to time. Various pieces were excavated over the years, but Charlotte Crowe states in Rome's Ara Pacis that the largest excavation was not initiated until 1937. Mussolini and the fascists wanted to reuse Roman images to glorify their own party. For the 2000th birthday of Augustus, a complete excavation of the Ara Pacis was commissioned. The rediscovered pieces of the altar have been combined with a modern reconstruction of the monument, which now resides in a new building. A.H.M. Jones shares the layout of the Ara Pacis in Augustus. The monument is a square enclosure with doors on the front and back. The actual altar resides in the center. I am pictured in front of the monument to give an idea of its scale. The exterior walls are carved with reliefs in various symbolic groupings. Mythological and allegorical scenes surround the doorways, while the walls depict a procession of figures marching towards the altar, ready to give a sacrifice. I will explore these figures soon, especially a frieze known as the Tellus panel, but more than half of the reliefs consist of intricately carved vines. Zonker points out that these symbols of fertility and abundance are more than mere decoration, and are a recurring theme not just in the Ara Pacis, but throughout Augustan art. David Castriota says in the Ara Pacis Augustae and the Imagery of Abundance that the vines of the Ara Pacis differ from earlier Augustan art in their realistic Hellenistic style versus the abstract style of classical vines. The vines also combine realistic and artistic depictions of plants that are shows at different points throughout the monument: figs, laurels, and grape bunches, among other plants, appear sprouting from the acanthus. These fruits are associated with specific gods. Figs with Juno, goddess of marriage. Grapes with Dionysus, god of wine and ecstasy. Castriota agrees with other scholars that the laurel branches in particular draw a clear connection to Apollo, Augustus's patron god since his victory over Sextus Pompeius in 36 BCE. Although the vines seem to spiral and grow almost uncontrollably, the panel has near-perfect symmetry, suggesting order and wild abundance. Castriota also speaks about the fauna on the Ara Pacis. The vines are littered with many small animals. Here we see lizards, butterflies, frogs, and birds, bringing the monument to life. Many of the animals are depicted in the act of eating or moving. This, combined with the lack of any consistent symmetry to their placement, adds a lifelike quality to their depiction. On the northern frieze next to an acanthus calyx, notice the snake attacking baby birds in their nest. The insidious snake is a reminder that peace must be actively sought, and conflict is a constant threat. Perhaps the most important animal depicted on the Ara Pacis is the swan. Swans can be interpreted as another link to Augustus's patron god, Apollo, to whom they were sacred. 20 large swans are placed in intervals atop the floral pattern surrounding the monument. According to Castriota, the artistic influence for these swans is Greek vases depicting Aphrodite riding. Aphrodite's Roman equivalent, Venus, is the god of love and fertility, a good match for the abundance of the vines below. Venus is also the genetrix of Aeneas, and thus Augustus's own family line. Castriota draws the conclusion that swans simultaneously allude to both Venus and Apollo. The prominent position of the swans within the floral panels, and as you will see later the Tellus panel, lend them greater thematic importance than the other animals depicted. Ovid writes in the Fasti, "My song has led me to the altar of peace, one day from the month's end. Peace, be present with the wreath of Actium on your head, and stay in kindness through the world. Let there be no reason for a triumph, and no enemies, you will bring more glory than war. Let the soldier carry arms only to repress arms. Let the trumpet sound only for ceremony. Let the ends of the earth stand in awe of the men of Rome. If not fear, let there be love. Priests, add incense to the flames of peace. Strike down the white victim. May the house which guarantees peace, and peace last forever. Be that your prayer to the gods who love."